Hey, another sequel we didn't really need. The Huntsman Winter's War. So The Huntsman Winter's War is the prequel sequel to Snow White and the Huntsman and stars Chris Hemsworth, Charlize Theron, if that's how you pronounce her name, Emily Blunt and Jessica Chastain. And in this movie we follow Chris Hemsworth's character as the Huntsman. We find out he was taken from his family at a very young age and trained by the Ice Queen played by Emily Blunt, who just recently has gone through a very traumatic experience which I won't spoil for you guys. And so she's rounding up children, boys and girls, to be trained as huntsmen. And the only law in her kingdom is to not fall in love. Which, surprise surprise, Chris Hemsworth and Jessica Chastain's character do, leading some stuff to happen and them getting separated, and then it leads on to the events of Snow White and the Huntsman. And now fast forward 7 years after Snow White and the Huntsman, where Chris Hemsworth is living alone until he's approached by the king and asked to hunt down the mirror, or the magic mirror if you're familiar with the Snow White story. And so he accepts, so basically the rest of the movie is him hunting down this mirror before the Ice Queen gets it, with a few other bits just sprinkled here and there. Now as for Snow White and the Huntsman, I didn't think it was a bad movie, I didn't think it was a great movie, I thought it was okay for what it was. And as for this movie, I find it okay for what it is. And that is a fantasy action romance with a bit of comedy sprinkled in. I do mean sprinkled because they do try to get the comedy in there, but for the most part it does fail. But first, the good about the movie, the acting. The acting in this movie was really good by all parts. No one really gives a bad performance, but there were characters in there that I didn't think were needed. But pretty much everyone in this movie gave a great performance. Chris Hemsworth was great as the Huntsman. He was funny, he was a badass, he's a likeable guy, so you relate to his character quite a bit. And Jessica Chastain, she was really good in the movie. She plays the warrior, and that's the main romance in this movie between these two, and I bought it. It actually worked for the movie. They both had great chemistry on screen, it was believable, and I like watching both of them go back and forth with each other. As for Emily Blunt as the Ice Queen, it's not her best performance, but it's certainly not her weakest. I mean, she plays an interesting villain in the movie, and you do understand why she's doing some of the stuff that she's doing. You don't fully agree with it, but you do understand. But you don't really feel that threatened by her. You don't feel any menace coming off of her. As for Charlize Theron, she returns in this movie, and again, she's quite an intimidating villain. She's the main villain of this movie yet again, and she was great. I didn't feel like they forced her into this. It seemed to flow quite nicely into the story, and she gave a good performance. And like I said, as for the rest of the cast, they were good. The two dwarves played by Brydon and Nick Frost, they were good. However, I felt like their characters were not needed in this movie. You've got them here for the comedy relief really, but they're not needed for the movie. They don't enhance the plot in any way. If you'd have just took them out of this entire movie, nothing would have been different. Well, obviously some bits would have been different, but if you tweak the script a little bit, then you wouldn't have noticed they weren't there. It felt too forced to try and connect that this is actually the sequel to Snow White and the Huntsman, and I didn't feel they needed to do that. Same again with another romance that happens in this movie. It didn't feel needed, it didn't feel like it should have been in there. The story was doing fine, focusing on Chris Hemsworth and Jessica Chastain's characters. So the other stuff happening in the background is just annoying and you simply don't care about it. I will say the visuals are really good in this movie. It looked slick, it looked tidy, it worked for the scenes they were in, and it felt like the actors were actually reacting to the things that they were seeing. However, the main problem for this movie is the story. Now, the main story for this movie is a debate whether love is the strongest force or whether it actually makes you weaker, and we've seen this so many times before in movies, especially fantasy type movies like this. And because we had to focus this love aspect into the story, I feel like the script kept flip-flopping a little bit. Like some of the dialogue flowed really nicely, but sometimes it didn't work for the scene. Same with the comedy, some of the comedy didn't work. Every now and then there is a good chuckle, but nothing that makes you laugh out loud. So that's my main flaw with the movie. What I think would have been better, instead of focusing on all this love is bad or love is good thing, focus on a revenge story. Have the events of what happened at the end of Snow White and the Huntsman go back to Emily Blunt's Ice Queen. Have her find the mirror, bring her sister back, and then go on a revenge rampage against Snow White. I feel like that would have been a more interesting movie, and a bit more action-packed and tense considering it's after the events of Snow White. We don't know if these characters are going to survive, because then that makes it its own storyline. So overall though guys, although it's well acted, the visuals look really good, and there are some good elements to the movie, the writing's a little sloppy, the comedy doesn't work half the time, and I feel like there are characters in this movie that aren't needed. But I do have to stress guys, it's not a terrible movie, and for what it is, I have to give The Huntsman Winter's War 3 stars. I will say the action sequences are really well shot in this movie. There's a certain scene in the bar or tavern where Chris Hemsworth goes up against a few other huntsmen, and there's no background music over it, so you're hearing every hit, every punch, and you can hear bones breaking. It's brutal and it's pretty awesome. So, The Huntsman, have you guys seen it yet? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks ever so much for watching guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share the video with your friends, that'll help my channel out a lot. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.